Detroit Lions. Here we go. Win total 7.5 or 8. Last year, 9-7 straight up, 8-7-1 against the spread, 10-6 to the over. They were plus 10 in the turnover battle, and that was 5th in the league. 30th rushing attack on offense. This Football Outsiders. 28th rated defense, 28th against the run, 9th in special teams. Patricia's the new coach. That's a tough sell. It was a hard sell to begin with at the press conference. You see this picture as they got destroyed in the Super Bowl and couldn't stop a nosebleed against the Eagles. And the New England defense was so bad. And here's the guy, right? That they couldn't do anything on defense in New England. Now he's your guy in Detroit. And then he had the off-the-field issues, which he denies it. So apparently that's behind him, but still cause for concern. Some of the moves, they bring in LeGarrette Blount, Matt Castle. I can't believe he's still in the league. Ebron leaves. But to me, someone is going to have to stink in this division. And it's going to be Detroit, the worst team in the division. The whole division's not going to go 7-9 or 9-7. And I think the Vikings are going to be awesome. And then Green Bay could win 10 games as well with their the win total at 10. The other thing is Matt Stafford, who absolutely stinks. Stat Padford has beat 2 teams in his career that finished the season with a winning record. Think about that. The last thing he is elite. Lazy, bad mechanics, throws off his back foot, relies on the arm strength. It gets him in trouble. Don't give me he hasn't had weapons. The guy had Megatron for most of his career and still couldn't do a damn thing. So a couple playoff losses, running the ball, that's an issue as well. But this guy, the amount of money they've paid him and the fact that he has only a couple wins in his career. I think he only has 5 wins in his whole career against teams that finished the season with a winning record. And then you see it's only 2. And one of them was when Case Keenum got his first start with the Vikings. Average quarterback.
All right. Clearly you don't like Stafford. The Lions are more than just Matthew Stafford. And, of course, it starts with what happened last year. This is a team that won 9 games last year. They were a playoff team 2 years ago, and they fired their coach, Jim Caldwell. Bye-bye. And I understand the media didn't like Jim Caldwell. He was quiet. He wasn't he was the antithesis of Matt Patricia in that regard, where he didn't make a connection with the guys who are reporting on. He made a good connection in the locker room, and the Lions probably overachieved the last 2 years. That being said, the GM, when firing Caldwell, said, we have talent to win more than 9 games. We're supposed to be competing for Super Bowls. So that's what they're thinking in Detroit. That's the mentality from GM Bob Quinn. Now, obviously, when you're looking at the stats from last year, the running attack wasn't very good. The defense wasn't that good. They couldn't stop the run. What they were good at was creating turnovers. The positive turnover margin a season ago, a huge factor in Detroit. You say, all right, well, is that going to last? Well, Matt Patricia, and we put 2 pictures of Patricia in the clip here for a reason. Do you get the Patricia? There's the rough guy, and then he cleans up real nice. Patricia in the Super Bowl, and then Patricia at the news conference. He's certainly a guy who, and this is important to note, some allegation from somebody 25 years ago in a case that never got prosecuted, that's nothing, okay? It's nothing. And it can't be held over somebody's head. If it's prosecuted, if you got charged with this, sure. An allegation, come on, Pauly. You sexually harassed me one time. It wasn't any big deal. And I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm kidding, of course. But what I'm saying is that allegations are very easy. Investigations that conclude you did something, at least there's some burden of proof there. He was allegedly involved. There was an investigation
wait
said
a second.
We don't find
You're burying the lead.
So I don't hold
How about you do your homework and you find that out? How did the Lions not know about that? That's ridiculous. He was indicted, or he was at least what was the story? He was he was indicted. So how do you're the Detroit Lions, you're $1 billion business in the NFL. How do you not know this is going on in the guy's past history? Terrible job by the Lions.
Meanwhile, you look at this defense, and of course, you talked about the New England's defense didn't do that good last year. Lions defense was decent last year, decent enough. And they had a bunch of guys that they wanted to bring in terms of re-signing guys. Zeke Ansel certainly stands out. Tavon Wilson certainly stands out. Nevin Lawson in that regard, all guys they were able to keep. And then, 5 new additions for this defense and some impact players. Christian Jones from Chicago, Deshaun Snead joining the secondary, Devin Kennard in the front seven. This defense looks pretty good on paper, even though they do have a handful of losses that are, from a season ago. It's a team that, ranked better than the Patriots in defense last year. But offensively, there are still concerns for Detroit, and it all starts not with the quarterback, Pauly, but with the offensive line in front of them.
I will say that now I think this is a bunch of bunk. This story by a local columnist who's saying he's already lost the team or losing the team because he's making them run after they do something wrong and the players are tuning them out. I don't care what Caldwell did before him. I mean, that's commonplace. So the fact that I think that's a ridiculous column that the Lions are tuning him out because he makes them run. So I think that's absurd. But again, it's a tough sell as he's your defensive guy when he was a DC in New England and they were so bad, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Caldwell was a guy who the players loved. I don't mean like. I mean, they loved him. They respected Jim Caldwell. He didn't yell at them. He didn't call them out. He didn't make them run laps after they screwed up in practice. They responded with back-to-back winning seasons, but Detroit doesn't have very often. Patricia's not a player's coach in that sense. And you wonder how well the veterans are going to buy in, which, of course, means, hey, we got to look at the young guys. What happened in the draft for Detroit? I thought they did a good job. Frank Ragnow, the #1 pick, the center out of Arkansas, they need as much offensive line help as they can get. Kerryon Johnson, this is a team that could not run the football last year. 76 yards per game on the ground. Johnson, a guy who was reportedly chafing at Patricia's treatment of him, but guess what, Rook? Get used to it. And then a couple of guys on defense, and Tracy Walker and Deshaun Hand. Note the SEC complement of guys, where Detroit picking from down south. Arkansas, Auburn, and Alabama with 3 of their top 4 picks. They're drafting guys who have faced quality competition at the collegiate level, who should be, in theory, ready to go as rookies at the NFL level.
So the NFC North plays the NFC West and the AFC East. 2 extra games at Dallas, Carolina at home. Let me see, out of the gates, Jets at home. I don't know why that's the Monday night early game. That's ridiculous. And then it's difficult. At San Francisco, Patriots at home, at Dallas and Green Bay before the bye. A lot went their way. Plus 10 in the turnover battle. Rushing attack stunk. I don't think they'll improve the defense. What are your thoughts on the schedule before we do play of the day?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Lions schedule, certainly from a numbers perspective, it's not an easy one. And then you look at how it plays out. They get the Jets opening day, and then at San Fran, New England, at Dallas, Green Bay, at Miami, Seattle, at Minnesota, at Chicago, Carolina. You don't see a lot of auto wins in that group. No surprise here if the Lions start off slow. And if they do, well, then Patricia's like, all right, who do we got for the future here? This is not a team I'm particularly bullish on when it comes to their season win total. We'll get back to this when it comes to play of the day time. Like the show? Help us keep the lights on. Please make sure to comment, share, and subscribe to all the Sportsbook Review videos. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Enjoy the game.